Looks like it or not, all right. My name is George Clark. I own a building on Madison Street. It's a small cafe and an ice cream parlor. Your proposed changes, the 190-5, the definition of light manufacturing. It says here that going down probably halfway through it, you're mentioning at least 50% of the first floor space on the premise, which is engaged in light manufacturing, shall be devoted to the occupant's retail operation. Light manufacturing, which is conducted in the upper floors of the building, the downtown commercial zone, shall be limited to the hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. My statement on this is I think that having 50% of the floor area, if you're manufacturing, you're pretty much tying the hands of whoever would be manufacturing there. For example, if you had someone making jewelry or fishing lures or golf club heads or something small, if I have 2,000 square feet, that means I have to devote 1,000 square feet to hang up fishing lures or necklaces or golf club heads to sell. I understand that we need to generate sales tax revenue. That's the whole operation here. But I think you're tying the hands of any future business by making them use half of their square footage strictly for retail operations. Perhaps something like 80% to manufacture and 20% to display your wares would be a more sensible, I think, percentage. Actually, I don't know why you wouldn't want, if somebody was making fishing lures and sent them to the land of Cabela and didn't sell any on Madison Street, that would still have people there working. They would be getting their haircuts at Genge's and getting their lunches downtown and getting their cell phones downtown. That aside, I understand it's for the sales tax revenue. I understand that. But let's make it a little bit more palatable, if that's possible, to consider that as being, let's not take up so much square footage for the retail. I mean, if the guy wants to use 90% of his floor space to sell his wares, that's fine. But I think limiting them to, I'm sorry, you can only use half of your structure to manufacture your wares, and you must use the other half to sell them. I think that's, like I said, I think it's tying the hands of whatever future business may come. I think that's really all I have to comment on at this point. And any other comments or suggestions or things I could make and send to planning and development, I could send to Cassie Rose up to the 13th of March. Is that true and correct?
Well, this sounds to me like it relates to the proposed amendments, and public can comment on proposed legislation at any time.
At any time. Okay. That's really all I have on this. Thank you for your time.
Name is Brent Polikowski. It's P-A-W-L-I-K-O-W-S-K-I. My wife and I are the founders of Net Design. It's the internet-based business that I'm sure I know all of you people have heard of. I've read every word of this thing 15 times. The only thing I want to say here in front of everyone is thank you. You guys put a lot of work into this. We're worried. We're in a residential area. We did not want that to change, but we did want to have the ability to have an internet business, and the resident isn't going to change. And I like everything we've read and seen, and I know how much work it is. We've been watching for 2 years, watching you guys go through this, and we appreciate it. I don't see anything I disagree with whatsoever. Thank you.
Charles McMahon, M-C-M-A-H-O-N, and I was at 447 Broad Street, Oneida. I want to ditto George's comments about the restrictions on the space. I think that is a little confining, and it may create a problem for somebody who wants to do pottery. I mean, there's lots of space that's required for that. Not necessarily everything needs to be 50-50 in the space. I think that just needs to be consideration. The only other thing that I have is I read through this, as the other gentleman said 3 or 4 times. And one of the opening comments that was made talked about the amendments proposing language changes to streamline the review process. Although when I read the amendments, I didn't see anything in there about the review process in of itself, as far as dealing with how somebody actually applies and comes in to use either a home business or any of the changes that are underneath the zones. So the question, I know you're not going to answer questions, but that was a question I had, was that I didn't see that in here, in the verbiage, as to what that change to the process for application was. Secondly, and one of the verbiages repeated about 3 times in here is about the this whole process of getting an environmental impact statement. And my question is that there are 2 types of impact statements, a type 1 and a type 2. And from what I read underneath the regulations in New York, most of what somebody would do to make an application change for a residential application would be a type 2, which would require no seeker at all. And so I just wanted to make sure that that was not going to be something that was put into this regulation that said that everybody who's going to apply for a home business is going to end up going through a type 1 review, when in fact most of what they need to do is limited by the law, that you don't even have to do that. So I just want to make sure that the regulation that's adopted by the city doesn't require that type 1 requirement when it's not necessary under the state. And the third thing is, I think that there's been a lot of work put into this. It opens up a lot of avenues, and I think that that's what the city needs to do. And I appreciate the work we've all put into it also. Thank you.
I'm David Pigler. My wife is Julia. We live at 508 Tilden Street. Most of you I've talked to about this, but we just wanted to thank you for looking at these changes and doing the work you did, because we were actually surprised to find out that it was illegal to have a home business where we live. We thought that we were in court legal. But I just wanted to thank you, because there's a lot of people in Oneida that want to have home businesses, and just wanted to say thanks.
If I could say something else concerning the signage, I was wondering if it's possible to have some of the signage. I know there's a fee depending on how big the sign is and where it goes on your window, your front of your building or whatnot. Would that make it a bit more business friendly if these fees were waived? That might make things a little bit easier for businesses to start up and going in Oneida. I understand there's a sign review board that has to approve signs, but as far as the fees that are involved, it's just another dime, another dime, another dime, another dime, and you get dined to death. So that might be another consideration, possibly waiving a sign fee. That might make a little more palatable for business to come in. That's something to consider. Thank you.
Jeremy Eastman, 222 Island Park Place, EASTMAN. Just want to say kudos to the council and the Cassie for putting together a great document. It was well organized and it was very clear and upfront with what it's doing. And again, thanks to the council and to everybody involved, which was very good revision. So it was a really positive first step. Second one being, I would just encourage under the change in NC to residential, if you continue to follow the core competencies of Oneida, that you have